Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with an Off the Board with Pineapple Papers YouTube pop layout. So this is a scrap lift from a page I found on Pinterest. Here it is here. It is from All About Scrapbooks Australia, I think. The link will be on here in just a second, which is a blog. And I pinned this on Pinterest a while ago, and I just love how it looks, how all the layers are. I think there's a couple things that are kind of unique that I don't usually do that I wanted to try. So I'm back with some photos from Hawaii. Again, this is the Kealia Trail on Oahu. This is where we saw the monk seals and a couple other things, but this is my page about the albatrosses. So it leads to an albatross nesting ground, which is super cool. I'd never seen an albatross before, so it was really cool to get to see them. Actually, I'd seen them before at this exact same spot. This is the second time we've done this trail, but it's always really cool to see them. So this is just documenting them, and I pulled out my die cuts with a view paper pad. This one's called Peachy Evergreen. I love this paper pad. I can't believe I still have some of it knocking about. I think my very first process video ever used this paper pad, and I still have it. So I pulled it back out to get some more products used. I cut my photos down a little bit. In the original layout, they're trimmed down quite small. I'm not quite sure what size they are, if they're 3x4 or not. I had two 4x6s. I couldn't trim them down that far without losing some of the details in my photos that I wanted to keep. But I did trim down a little bit just so I had some more place to do all the layering. I had some more room. So that's what I'm starting with. I decided I was going to ink all the edges, so I pulled in my frayed burlap distress ink, and I'm just going to ink all the edges here. I matted these photos in a scrap of a pink florally pattern paper, and then I'm just using this really subtle tone-on-tone pink plus sign paper as the background. And then you saw me pull out a whole bunch of other papers from this collection I'm going to use to do all my layering. But first I'm just going to go ahead and ink all the edges. I'm going to try and do this as I go. But I thought it was really cool. I liked the original design, how it had the chevrons and just the way the layers were. I liked how they did the rounded corners. Sorry, my window's open if you can hear the birds. Hopefully that's not too loud. So yeah, I just liked all the little details that were here. So I'm going to go ahead and try and copy that. I'm going to pull out my Becky Higgins corner rounder and try and do that as well. Those birds are really loud. I'm sorry. So I staggered the photos kind of like they are in the original sketch. There's my corner rounder. So basically I want to keep the photos square, and the actual layout will obviously be square. Everything else I want to be rounded. So I really like the juxtaposition of the corners and then having the rounds. Sorry, I'm going to close the window. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. That bird was very, very loud right outside my window. Anyways, so you can see I'm rounding my corners, inking the edges. I think the inked edges really helps accentuate those rounded corners, which I think is really cool. Also helps, all these different papers are different colors, so it's not like they blend together like the last time I inked. But I do like that definition of that edge of all these different pattern papers going on top of each other. But I'm just copying the sketch, or not the sketch, the original layout, and trying to stagger these papers similar to how they were in the inspiration. So I'm just trying to pick different colors to go on top of each other and make sure there's not too many of the same colors right up against each other. So I started off with this yellow. I'm going to this white foiled paper here, again rounding the corners, and then I think I also pulled in a multicolored peachy pink and one of the more greeny floral papers. So I'll just get all those together and glue down similar to how they are in the original, which is pretty simple the way they have it staggered. They pretty much just go back and forth between the layers. So this one they layered more on the left side of the page, the next one they layered more on the right side of the page, and then they have more of a vertical layer coming out of the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to copy that. It looks a lot different than theirs just because the proportions are different with my photo. But I thought it was really cool. It even looked like they could have potentially used pocket cards for their layering, which is a really cool idea. If you did have smaller photos, you definitely could have busted through a lot of pocket cards to do all this layering with, especially if you had some with rounded corners already. So that was an interesting take as well. But I decided, just because my photos were larger, I needed some bigger pieces of paper to do with this. But inking these up, I think I have one more pattern paper to go. But yeah, I like this layout and I really like playing with this collection again. And I just realized that this collection is very similar to my How to Kill a Kit with Style collection for next month. So I'd be interested to know if any of you have guesses about what that collection is, because I'm going to film my kit share right after this one to be posted on the 1st of next month. But I can't wait to start playing with that collection, and I've just been looking at it for a couple months now. So I think it's funny. I think that's kind of unconsciously why I chose this collection to play with, because it reminded me color-wise of the other one that I'll be using shortly. So getting these last layers down, I tried to make these a lot bigger than they were supposed to be, and so I had to keep moving these green layers down, because as you see, when I get these stuck down where I think I like them and then put them on the paper, they're hanging off. So I have to move those in a little bit so that it's not hanging off the page. But after I get that down, I think that's all my main paper layers, and then I just need to do a little bit of embellishing. I don't have any ephemera or anything else that coordinates with this or goes with this collection. So you'll see kind of how I address that in a second. It's kind of my old way of scrapbooking when I didn't have a lot of ephemera or things like that. I had to make use with punches and making my own ephemera from the actual collection. So this is one way to do this chevron detail. They have chevrons in that design from the original layout, so I really wanted to pull that into mine as well, but I don't have a chevron die or punch or anything. So what I did is I had a chevron stencil, so I just traced the chevrons onto the back of this pattern paper, and I'm going to fussy cut them and then mat them on a different paper and fussy cut them again to get that type of design. So that was a really good way to use coordinating pattern paper to create the design that I was going for without actually having this specific thing that they used. So I'm going to fussy cut those really quick. But I wanted to pull more of this green in. I really like how lush this green is, this back pattern paper, and I wanted to pull that more into the center of the page. So using this pattern paper to create these chevrons I thought was a really nice way to do that. And you'll see once these chevrons actually get on the layout and pull that color more into the middle, it really helps balance the whole page. And those are going to go in the blank areas where there's a gap in the yellow pattern paper, so I like how it fills in that gap as well. So I thought about matting them on this pinky paper, but they were both multicolored floral papers, and it got really busy when I tried to do that. So I pulled in this cut apart piece of paper. There's this dark green around the outside of this wreath. So I decided I would just use that to mat all my chevrons in. So you'll see in a minute, I'm going to glue all those chevrons down in the corners and fussy cut them off of that wreath. I also like that because I think if I ever did use this cut apart on a page, I would fussy cut that wreath. So by using these outer pieces, I'm getting basically what would be scraps and thrown away, used up. So I'm glad that those are making use. So I'm going to get these glued down. Just a second. I know a lot of people are working from home, but I still have to go to work during this whole COVID-19 thing. So my brain is dead. So I apologize if my words are escaping me this video, because my brain has just turned itself off after everything. So I apologize, but I'm getting all these glued down, like I said, and then we'll fussy cut those and move on. But I thought this was a really cool way to get that design element on a page. And I like when I can make things like this myself. There just seems more like sentimental and special when you make them yourself instead of buy them. And this is a really simple shape, especially with having something that I had a stencil of to create yourself. But you can see I really like how that looks. Having that darker border around these chevrons really helped them kind of stand out. I couldn't create the same type of chevron that was on the original layout because that would have just been too much of a headache. But I thought these were a good, similar thing to get that same design. So I'm almost done here. And then I'll move on with my embellishment. The design that I was inspired by has a couple circular embellished layered elements in the upper left hand corner, so I need to address that too. I definitely want to mimic that type of design. It also has a title in the bottom right hand corner, so I'm also trying to think about that as well. So that's kind of everything that I'm trying to keep in the back of my mind while I'm getting these down. But I know I'm not going to embellish too much. I just really want to make sure I have something of interest where they had something of interest in their photo. They had a big feathery floral piece as well in the bottom right hand corner with the title. So I kind of leave that off just because my portions are all a lot more like larger than what theirs were. So I'm going to try and leave that part off, but I definitely want something of interest in the upper left hand corner. So I kind of have to think about that, but I'm going to get all of this stuff glued down. I know where they're going to go on the page. I want to center it on the left side of the page like it is on the original. And then we will move on. There we go. So with there being circular elements, I decided to pull in a circle punch and just punch out a circle from this peachy multicolor floral. With this green color being pulled into the middle of the page with these chevrons, I thought it would be cool to pull that pinky color into the middle as well. So I really like having that circle element, but I needed something to go on top of it. And there's a very nice coordinating bird from the green paper, so I decided to just fussy cut this bird out of this green pattern paper, and I'm going to pop that bird up on some foam and put it in that circle for my little embellishment area. And I thought that was appropriate because we're at an albatross nesting ground. They're birds. I believe they are the birds with the largest wingspan, I was told. Not sure if that's accurate or not, but I thought that was a fun fact to share if it is. You look at them and they don't seem that massive, but as you can see in that top photo we had them, they were flying right over us. And I happened to get this picture from behind my mom and my brother as this one flew over us. And they are a lot bigger than they look. So I definitely wanted to include that as well. But now that I have my little embellishment cluster, I need to move on to my title. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to title this. I wanted to just kind of title it Albatross or something, but I couldn't find a alphabet that I really felt like did the trick. And I bought these, you guys have seen them a couple of times, travel-y themed black and white epoxy thickers to use with my Hawaii vacation pages. And I have a lot left over, and I only have like 4 maybe pages left from my Hawaii vacation. So I decided to get those on the page instead, and I really like the pop it ended up adding because there's nothing black on this page right now, so spreading these little black elements around the page really helped ground it and give it a little bit of an unexpected like pop. So I'm just labeling it Adventure. I thought I needed something down there in the bottom right hand corner in that empty space of that background paper, so Adventure is going to go there. The original had a couple layered arrows in and amongst these chevrons, and there's a bunch of black arrows on the sheet as well, so I'm also going to pull those into the same places that the original did. I think that's a cool touch, and I like how it brings that black shiny epoxy into different areas as well. So I have those, and then I just thought I needed one extra thing, so I added a little fun arrow up by the bird just to pull that into one extra spot. But I think that's pretty much it. I talk about these birds and everything we got to see on this hike on another page, so I really didn't need journaling. I did want to emphasize the black since I did start to pull it in. It just didn't seem like enough yet, so I did go in with some black Nuvo drops in a couple areas, and I think that helps balance it all out. But here are the close-ups. Make sure you check out everyone else who's playing along with this hop who's using Pinterest inspirations. As you saw, mine was in the beginning. If you play along, make sure you use our hashtags so that we can find your layouts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.